Hey, what's up? This is Jake from Nimbus DevOps, and I am learning Kubernetes. Today, we're going to talk about monitoring and logging. So I went to the Linux Foundation's site and looked up the Certified Kubernetes Administrator domains and competencies, and noticed that under troubleshooting, which is 30% of your score, it's expected that you can evaluate cluster and node logging, manage container standard out and standard error logs, and basically just understand how to monitor applications in general. There's no doubt that troubleshooting is going to require using logs. I don't know about actual metrics though. I just finished section 4 of the Udemy course that I'm taking, and I wasn't super impressed. I didn't really learn a lot. For example, if I try to use the top command on my nodes, it says error, metrics API not available. In order to get this work, you'd actually have to download something from the internet and apply it to your Kubernetes cluster. Since none of that is going to be allowed in the exam, I'm assuming that we're not going to be able to use the metrics API. The Kubernetes documentation doesn't really cover the metrics API other than telling you what it is. I went to the Kubernetes SIGs GitHub repository, and under the metrics server, it actually says in here that you're not supposed to use this to forward metrics to monitoring solutions, and says not to use the metrics server when you need an accurate source of resource usage metrics. So this is where a third-party tool like Prometheus might come into play. Prometheus isn't part of the exam, so I'm not going to be learning the details of how to implement Prometheus today. We'll get to that later. I did learn one thing, and if we get our pods, you can see I have an Nginx pod running, and if we want to get the logs of it, we would normally just say kubectl logs and then the name of the pod. What I did think was kind of cool is you can -F, just like when you tail a log file, and you can actually watch it and watch it live. Aside from that, that's really all I got out of that course so far. There is one little gotcha. Make sure that you describe your pods, kubectl describe pod nginx, and check how many containers are running, because if you have multiple containers, the logs command isn't going to work. You actually have to pass the container name. So in this case, if the container name is nginx, then I would actually have to say kubectl get pod. In this case, the pod name is nginx, and then the container name. If I had a database, I would pass like db at the end of it, or whatever the container actual container name would be. So if you get an error saying that you need to provide a name, that's what that is. It means that there's multiple containers running on one pod. So that's all I got for you tonight. Hopefully that was somewhat informative. If you're hanging along with me, I'm moving on to the next section, which is application lifecycle management. Thanks for coming along. My name is Jake with Nimbus DevOps, and I am learning Kubernetes.